All right. First rule of this channel. We do not talk about this channel. Say rule of this channel. This is not legal advice. So this is going to be the roll, don't roll Grift for week 14 of fantasy football. Hopefully this is going to be the game that gets you into either your money games or you backdoors you into your playoffs in general. So let's get into it a little bit. First thing I want to talk about is Tim Patrick on the Thursday night game. Remember, never trust Thursday night football. 7 for 6, 43 yards and 2 tucks. And this is one of those ones like going into the rubber game for the regular season for fantasy football. This is one of the ones we can talk about, like, was this predictive? And the answer to that was like kind of yeah, because like pieces of good offenses in games that are predicted to score a lot of points. Like we could talk about like maybe not 19 points. Tim Patrick, and again, your scoring settings may be different than mine, but we could talk about getting like a 40-degree day out of a wide receiver 3 attached to like a good offense. We could talk about that. Like that is predictive in the good type of ways that, like, if I'm in deep enough leagues that I need to be rolling guys out there, especially with all the bye weeks that are going to be going on. And right now you're looking at like the Broncos, the Colts, the Pats, the Redskins, the Ravens, and the Texans this week. So the other thing I want to talk about is like the guys that I want to be rolling out there in these matchups, like when to be wrong. Like, can I look back on it and go like, how could I have known that? When it comes to like pieces of the Packers and the Lions, like a lot of points, you're looking at 65 total points in this game. Josh Jacobs falls in the end zone 3 times. I probably wouldn't have been rolling out Jordan Love outside of like desperation, just because he doesn't have the nimbly bimbly. But you're trying to get like touchdown passes. Like if you roll them out, like doing that, like I can understand that thought process behind that. And then Christian Watson would have been a guy I would have been chasing. Dontavian Wicks probably would have been in that wide receiver 3 dart throw range. Like Jaden Reed would have been the tough one in this one. I probably would have been rolling him out there like fringe wide receiver 2, and definitely got burned in this one. And Tucker Kraft, like he should have been rolled out there most of your leagues. When it comes to the Lions, on the other hand, like what can we predict? Like Jared Goff, like he would have been in that like coin flip. Can I get like 3 touchdown passes? That what you got out of him. David Montgomery falls in the end zone rushing, and then Gibbs falls in the end zone receiving. Like that's what you're expecting out of those guys attached to this offense. And then the other ones like Sam Laporta, he gives you a tight end 40-degree day. I'm okay with that one. And then Jameson Williams, like he gives you 8 for 5 for 80. If you're rolling him out there as a wide receiver 3, that's pretty good from what you're expecting. The Sun God's going to be a little bit disappointing if you needed him to get into your playoffs with all that stuff. All right. Getting into the schedule, I'll bring up this one first. There's no real weather. This Jaguars-Titan games is the closest one to a weather, and this site's saying 33% chance of showers. Like that's the only game that really looks like weather is going to be an issue. So outside of that, I wouldn't necessarily be worried about any of that stuff. So like we could get into the first game, which is going to be the Jaguars and the Titans right here. News out of this one right now. Let's see. If you're living under a rock, Trevor Lawrence, he's done for the year. Shoulder surgery plus the concussion. Now we're going to be talking about like how much we can trust Mac Jones. I wouldn't be trusting Mac Jones regardless of the matchup. Titans are one of the better defenses in football in this one. So like, yeah, I would be limiting my exposure to whatever. If you have Evan Ingram, unless you picked up like a Brock Bowers or David Njoku or something like that, like you're probably rolling out Evan Ingram in this offense. The two main ones, like these are big dart or big coin flips when it comes down to like being able to predict this. Like Brian Thomas, unless you got someone better, he is wide receiver 12 on the year. And then, if you're in deep enough leagues that you could be rolling Parker Washington in that like wide receiver 3 type of areas, there's not going to be a lot of implied points in this one. You're looking at 40 and a half total points on ESPN. Like Texans are 3.5 point favorites. So again, like I would not be chasing anything that I don't need to be chasing. Like if you're wondering about the running backs, like yeah, I wouldn't be chasing ETN if I didn't need to in this one. There's no real injury news on that one when it comes down to these guys. And then over for the Titans, I got nothing. So like the one guy that I probably slight downgrade with the expectation that Spears may actually eat into him a little bit, but Tony Pollard, if he got you there, you're not really rolling him as an RB1. You're probably rolling him with upside versus like your opponent. So I'm not going to overthink that on that one. I would be chasing Calvin Ridley in this game, I guess, because of the matchup. The Jaguars are a bad defense. Nick Westbrook-Akine, like I know the question got brought up in the comments. I don't know how much I'd be trusting him to get me into my playoffs or to get me in a money game, but like he's in that wide receiver 3 dart throw range. There's better guys. We'll talk about some of the guys that are maybe a little bit more predictive that are going to be out there. Last piece of notes, Traylon Burks was put on IR with like an ACL procedure for his knee. Let's see. Moving on, Jets and Dolphins. Miami's 6 point favorite, 44.5 points in this one. I wouldn't trust this game at all if I could get away with it. Like these teams have been very inconsistent, to be nice about it. Miami is theoretically supposed to have a pretty good defense. The Jets are supposed to have a defense, and remember, stats lie, and that's because like the Jets, offense has been like, really bad. That's why the Jets defense hasn't looked as good. And when it comes to like the Dolphins, like, yeah, your guess is going to be as good as mine on trying to predict some of these guys that are going to be out there. With the Dolphins news, I'll bring them up first. Right here. Raheem Mostert, he pops up with a hip, and let's see here. In this one, so like if he doesn't go, I don't know how much I would be trying to guess on a desperation play when it comes to Jeff Wilson, who has been active, and then Jalen Wright that really like tumbled down to like 1% snaps last week. I wouldn't be trusting any of that stuff going on out there. Obviously Jonnu Smith I'd be rolling. Waddle's going to be at that wide receiver 3 range. Like no injury designation when it comes to Tyreek Hill with that wrist, if you're wondering about that one. So like A-Chain definitely, Hill probably, Jonnu Smith absolutely because of the tight end situation. When it comes to the Jets, the big news in this one is going to be like Breece right now. He's trending towards out, like he's doubtful. In this one, I wouldn't be so fast in rolling out your Braylon Allen shares because of Isaiah Davis. Like this was already happening last week. Isaiah Davis, 18% snaps, red zone tug, 4 total opportunities. It may be a little bit more of a 50-50 split than we'd like to. So again, like if you have the ability to pivot towards some of the other matchups that are out there, then like going like, oh, I can just put my cuff in, or I could just plug this guy in. Like, yeah, he's probably a fringe RB2, but I would not be expecting that you're getting like full bell cow in this one, especially with like maybe a very unpredictable game flow between those two guys and Isaiah Davis in this one. And then when it comes to like the Jets and their wide receivers, like I wouldn't be thinking them any more than wide receiver 3s right now. All right. Next up, Atlanta and the Vikings. You're looking at 6-point favorites for the Vikings, 45.5 points total. Okay game script overall. I wouldn't trust anything that has to do with the Vikings defense because again, they're going to blitz and they're going to stop the run. That's how they're designed. And the Falcons have not been very predictive. So like you already know that if you've been playing around with your Kyle Pittses or some of the other guys that are out there. So like I wouldn't be getting too fancy with anything. Obviously you're rolling out your Bijan shares and Drake London. Darnell Mooney's probably going to still be in it. Again, like, live by the blitz, die by blitz. He can get home on any one of those ones. I think you can be pivoting to different guys besides Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts would be one of those guys like, can I predict a sub 40 degree day now? Probably. Do I want to be doing that? The other one, like with the Vikings, obviously you're rolling out TJ Hawk may get a slight downgrade in this one right here because Josh Oliver has come off the injury report with that ankle. And now we can maybe expect that he's going to get a certain amount of run. They haven't been running like TJ Hawkinson yet at 80-90% snaps like he's done in the past. If he hovers around like 60% snaps, that's probably going to lower both his floor and his ceiling, if you're going to be rolling him out there in this one. All right. Saints and Giants are going to be up next in this one. 5.5-point favorite for the Saints. That's a little surprising, all things considered. 40 total points overall. Like this is not a very high implied point total game in this one. Bringing up the Saints first. So first and foremost, like Taysom Hill, he was put on IR with an ACL. If you're under a rock, I don't know if that necessarily means that like anything's going to go anywhere to be tracking vacated opportunities. Right now, Kendre Miller is tracking towards playing. I don't know how much I would necessarily say like, all gas, no brakes is going to happen with like Kendre Miller. This is a pretty good overall matchup when it comes down to these two teams, like right here. If you're looking at the Giants, Giants have an okay defense. They're primarily not very good at stopping the run. Remember, stats lie for a reason on this one. The Giants have not been particularly good on offense. But, if you're going to be trying to catch like maybe some type of like desperation RB2 role when it comes to the Kendre Miller and the Saints, if you're like in that deep enough league that you have to do that, again, vacated targets tend to go to running backs first. That means that like this is a pretty good week to be rolling out your Alvin Kamara shares in general. With Taysom Hill being out, like those opportunities are probably going to get absorbed by him. That's where all of them are. All the opportunities would end up going in the first place. It just depends on how much Kendre Miller might actually eat into him. Let's see. I'm looking at my notes. Bub Means right now for the Saints, he is tracking towards not playing. So like he's not going to play right now, won't play. That's going to be out there. Like, that's probably more of a stash if you're in deep enough leagues that you want to be playing with that stuff. For the Giants, Drew Lock, he is, and we'll talk about like Malik Neighbors here. Drew Lock is going to be in line to start again this week. This is a good matchup to be rolling out like Drew Lock. If you're in like 2 quarterback leagues, you can get a little cute with tracing Drew Lock in this one. The Saints defense has not been the Saints defense. Like, you can see 3rd worst overall in yards per game. There is a little bit nimbly bimbly when it comes to Drew Lock. 457, a touchdown last week. Like, he does have kind of a cannon for an arm. Overall, like, you're probably not going to get a very predictive like shootout type of game between these two guys. It could get like pretty ugly in this one. And then with Malik Neighbors, he is trending towards like, I would probably say he's trending towards not playing. Did not practice on Friday, but again, you're gonna have to check the active inactives when it comes down to this stuff. Like, this would have been one of the ones where I'm like, yeah, this I might actually get a return on investment. Then he pops up like with that hip. Right now, that would upgrade Darius Slayton into like dart throw land. That he would be there, like, probably that upgrade him further into shallower leagues if you're going to be chasing that. And then with Theo Johnson going on IR, like, you have to be like in really deep leagues to try and guess right, get cute with Daniel Bellinger, absorbing some of those opportunities that are going to be going out there. Like Tyrone Tracy, probably like an auto smash in all of this. All right, next game, you're looking at the Panthers and the Eagles. 13.5 implied points for the Eagles, so you're rolling out all your Eagles shares. 45 points total. I would say like this is projected to be a blowout by the Eagles. Big asterisk that the Panthers have looked better in this one, and the Eagles have been a little wonky when it comes to trying to predict what's going on with them. Like, they've been good, but they haven't been predictive good from a fantasy perspective, if that makes any sense for anybody out there. Let's see. And then right now, we're expecting an increased workload for Jonathan Brooks. There's no news on this. It's just based off the snap share. So you could probably be firing him up somewhere, maybe outside of desperation RB2 land. 21% snaps. Expect that's going to go up. Red zone opportunities more than Chuba did last week. And then receiving work, again, especially if this does turn into a negative script game and they're using him in the passing game, like you might be able to expect that, again, that quote unquote roll uptick that is going on with him. Jalen Coker for the Panthers, he is right, where is he at? He is going to be doubtful with a quad this week, and this is probably not that big of a deal outside if you're trying to run your Adam Thielens or your Xavier Leggett's and your DJ Moore. And this would be a week to be rolling these guys out, expecting that there are going to be passing from behind in that negative tips script type of game. Jatavion Sanders right now, he is going to be questionable with a neck. He did practice in full today. So like, even if he doesn't magically play, like, I don't know how much I'd be chasing like Sanders or Tommy Tremble for the Panthers in this game. Like, you probably could go Thielen 40-degree day with a little bit of upside. Leggett's going to have your most the safest play with the highest upside, and then David Moore is going to be your biggest like boom bust guy when it comes out of those guys. He's going to definitely have like the lowest overall floor if I was to guess out of these guys. When it comes to the Eagles this week, Devontae Smith, he is trending towards playing right now. No injury designation with that hamstring that made him miss last week. And then Dallas Goedert, he's out. So like, again, this would be another one. Like, as much as I would like to will Grant Calcaterra because like, it's in the cards, I probably would be moving towards other guys that I could project better in this game. That is the Panthers, or excuse me, the Eagles are likely going to be in a positive script where they're going to be running Saquon Barkley. They're going to have their number 2 back. Like, this is probably not the guy that I would be necessarily chasing that's going to be out there. All right, Browns and Steelers. In this one, you're looking at the Steelers by 6.5 points, 43.5 total points in this game. Like, that's towards the lower side. Steelers can definitely make this like an ugly script game if they feel like it. To bring that up right there, and you're looking at the 6th best defense overall in yards per game when it comes to the Steelers. You're also looking at, let's see, 7th best overall, or tied for 6th best when it comes to points per game when it comes to the Steelers that are out there. So again, like, trying to guess right on this game. Can we get another famous Jameis week, or are we gonna get like the other famous Jameis week where he goes out there, throws 4 reception, has like 8 sacks and 2 fumbles? Your guess is going to be as good as mine if you want to be get spicy with all that stuff that's going to be going on out there with the Browns. Cedric Tillman, he is going to miss another game with a concussion. That means I definitely would be rolling out my Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore shares, especially because of the price that you probably paid for him. That's going to allow you to be rolling them as your flex or your wide receiver 3. I wouldn't be overthinking this with those vacated opportunities. This probably also means that the David Njoku is going to be moved further towards unicorn levels of guys that are going to be going out there when it comes down to that. I probably would not be chasing Nick Chubb outside of trying to guess that he's going to get the opportunity to fall in the end zone. I don't know if the usage is going to be there. I don't know if the script's going to be there or anything like that. When it comes to these guys, and famous Jameis, he's going to be like, what do you need points wise? Like, there's probably not going to be a 40-degree day within this range of outcomes. You're just looking for a league winner or a league loser when it comes to this matchup. When it comes to Jameis Winston. When it comes to the Steelers right now, like right here, so George Pickens popped up on the injury report with a hamstring on Friday, and this was added on Friday. So like again, like this is gonna be something you're gonna have to monitor. I don't know how much I want to be chasing those vacated opportunities. It would probably upgrade Jaylen Warren first if I was gonna guess on that, and then second, like you. This is why I say, like, if you're going to be waiting like a Grant Calcaterra or something like that, like to be streaming, now we can start maybe talking about Muth. Even if George Pickens goes, I could definitely see like Muth getting an upgrade overall in this game. And if you're wondering about Russ, like, again, I don't necessarily think the Steelers need to be turning this into some type of shootout. And you're going to be trying to track a certain amount of touchdown opportunities through the air when it comes to Russ. And that would probably be the biggest reason. Like, I don't know. The Steelers could definitely make this a very conservative script. If you're chasing touchdowns, I would probably be looking at Jameis over Russ, even though, like, overall, when it comes to your ability to guess on the defenses right now, the Browns are one of the worst defenses when it comes to points per game. Again, stats lie. Most of the season, they didn't have famous Jameis. Their offense was bad, which made their stats worse. So just remember that if you're going to be chasing that out there in real world land. All right, up next, you're looking at the Raiders and Tampa Bay. 6.5-point favorite for Tampa Bay. 46.5 points overall. Like, they're expecting a little bit of scoring out of this one. I can understand that. The Buccaneers defense has not been particularly good this year. I don't know how much I really want to be chasing the Raiders offensively. And it kind of gets a little bit worse when we break this stuff down. So Aiden O'Connell is going to be your starting quarterback. I don't necessarily think that he's a bad role in 2 quarterback leagues. I don't know how much I'd be wanting to put my season on the line when it comes to Aiden O'Connell. You can be rolling him out there. If you're going to chase this, we can look at this one and see how bad the Buccaneers defense is. You're looking at 5th worst overall defense when it comes to yards per game. You're also looking at 24.7 points per game. Defensively, that's going to put them within the top or the bottom 10 overall when it comes to scoring defenses. So you can think about Aiden O'Connell. Zamir White's going to be out with that quadricep. Alexander Madison is questionable right now with his ankle injury. He got limited in all week. Again, I don't know how much I'd be wanting to trace like either Amir Abdullah or Sincere McCormack in this one. I don't even know how much I want to be chasing Alexander Madison. The bigger news right now when it comes to if you're in a bad enough situation that you're be chasing the Raiders defense in a good matchup would be Jacoby Myers. He pops up with let's see if I can bring this up. So he did pop up, and it doesn't even have the news on here right now, but I did write this down. So he did pop up with an ankle. He had a DNP Thursday, and he did get a limited Friday. So if you're going to be either waiting on Jacoby Myers on that inactive right now, he did get a limited on Friday. The other thing is, like, I don't know how much I would be chasing the vacated targets when it comes to the other wide receivers. Trey Tucker, I don't know if I would be necessarily trusting that. You maybe could talk about like moving Michael Mayer up into like prayer mode. There's other guys like Grant Calcaterra I'd probably be chasing on that one. The biggest guy that's going to get the beneficiary of those vacated targets is likely going to be Brock Bowers. And if you have Brock Bowers, you're already rolling out your Brock Bowers shares. When it comes to the Buccaneers, one of the things I will talk about is they've kind of changed how their offenses function because of the injuries to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They may be a little bit more run heavy if you're going to be chasing some of these guys that are going to be out there. Like right now with Bucky Irving, you're looking at, let's see, hip and ankles. He was limited on Friday. If you're going to be waiting on him potentially rolling out there, you can get to the point because of this. Like you're either looking at the possibility of Rachaad White going full bell cow in this game, or a desperation run by Sean Tucker if Bucky Irving is out in this one. Even if Bucky Irving rolls, you might get an uptick from because he's limited, you might get an uptick in Rachaad White, so I'd be rolling him out there, and then you could also roll Sean Tucker as a desperation roll anyway, regardless of that one. All right. Next up, you're looking at the Seahawks and the Cardinals. 2.5 points favorite for the Cardinals, 44.5 points in general. Again, these teams have been like rather inconsistent from a fantasy perspective. I don't know how much I would really want to be rolling these guys out there. Right now, the biggest news on all this is going to be Kenneth Walker. He is uncertain to play Sunday. He didn't practice all week right now, so you may be getting like full bell cow Charbonnet at this place. So with Kenneth Walker, when he was out, you're looking at 96% snaps and 84% snaps week 2, week 3. This is not necessarily a bad matchup to be chasing your Charbonnet shares if he is available in this game, even though it's probably going to lean towards a slightly more conservative script. And there's the Cardinals right there, right in the middle of the road when it comes to everything, if you're going to be tracking on all that stuff. Let's see. I don't have anything else when it comes to the Cardinals right now, or I don't have anything for the Cardinals. When it comes to the Seahawks, the other one to be talking about is going to be DK Metcalf. He's off the injury report with that shoulder, so like any worry we're going to have about that. That probably downgrades JSN slightly. And then Tyler Lockett wasn't really even on the radar to begin with. Like I said, I don't have anything to say about the Cardinals. If you're going to be rolling out your Cardinal shares in this game, let's see, to bring this up, and from a passing game perspective, when it comes to Seattle, they're middle of the road. So I don't know how much you're going to be able to predict anything on that. Like, and this is just in general how the Cardinals offense has been functioning. Again, like there's nothing to say it's a good matchup. There's nothing to say that's a bad matchup. You probably spent on Marvin Harrison. You hopefully you figured out a way to pivot around him, and he's operating more as like a wide receiver 3 or flex or something like that. If you're wondering about that, and then Trey McBride's going to continue to operate as a unicorn, and probably no change to James Conner being a very solid RB2 this week. All right. Bills and Rams are going to be up next in this one. Let's see. 3.5 point favorite for the Bills, 49.5 points. I do have written down on my notes. Like, this is probably the game to be chasing. Everybody that you can be rolling out there. This is going to be the one that's not the Thursday night game. I don't know how much I would be wanting to chase the Bengals and the Cowboys and their implied points, because like we could talk about the Bills and the Rams have been good offenses, or at least not bad offenses this year, and their defensive have been, scoreable enough on to say that like we can predict that the offense is going to go that way. Like overall, like the odds makers are saying like this is the game that's going to be close, and this is the game that there's going to be a lot of points scoring in. So like I probably would feel pretty good rolling these guys out there. Keon Coleman is questionable with a wrist. He had limiteds on Thursdays and Friday when it comes down to that right here. So limited Thursdays and Friday when it comes to him. So like he is in line to play, and Dalton Kincaid is also in line to play limited Thursdays and Fridays. Like these guys are going to be like downgraded to like your wide receiver 3s. Even Dalton Kincaid, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be probably like awfully touchdown dependent. This is going to be coming out of the bye for Amari Cooper. So you can imagine that Amari Cooper is going to be like integrated in the offense. Like if it's going to be like one of those guys that you're just saying that you want a piece of this game, if you have Dalton Kincaid, that means that you're going to get in line to have some type of like Tim Patrick type of range of outcomes when it comes to a guy like Dalton Kincaid. If there's other guys, like you got your Brock Bowers because you picked him up that late in the draft as an insurance policy, you got your David Njoku's. Those are probably slightly better roles than trying to guess Dalton Kincaid, but he definitely has like tight end 1 range of outcomes this week. If you're wondering about all that stuff, Keon Coleman, or not Khalil Shakur would probably be like a maybe even we can start talking about like wide receiver 2 this week because of the implied points. And then Ray Davis would pop all the way up there as a desperation RB2, expecting that like the 33% snaps and the early red zone work is going to stay somewhat consistent in a game with like a lot of projected scoring that's going to be going on out there. All right. And then when it comes to the Rams, like because of the implied point total, you can get spicy enough to be rolling out. Where are they at? You could get spicy enough that you're going to be rolling out Puka, Cooper Kupp, and Demarcus Robinson in this one. So like you could get that deep to be chasing after that wide receiver 3 in that range. And then if you're in deep enough leagues, like you can expect that you're going to get maybe enough of a uptick in overall opportunity with Blake Corum, or the ability to fall in the end zone that make him a desperation RB2 when it comes down to that. All right, let's see. 49ers and Bears, and then Matt Stafford would be on the table as a high-end streamer because of the higher implied point totals that are going to be going on out there. All right, let's see. Bears and 49ers. This is one of the ones I would say like I would probably be backing away slowly from and saying like, well, how do I predict the script overall? Bears offensively and defensively have been all over the place. And the 49ers offensively and defensively, they've been all over the place. There's reasons behind that from a scoring perspective, like the 49ers defense, or I should say scoring. Overall, the 49ers defense have still been top 5 when it comes to yards per game. But again, with the offense being inconsistent, that's going to put pressure on their defense. That's why they're up to like 24.6 points per game. When it comes to the Bears, they're supposed to have like one of the better defenses in the league. But again, when your offense has been like really inconsistent, you're going to end up being towards the bottom of the yards per game because your offense is either turning the football over or you're punting way too much. So like trying to guess on what's going to go on in this game with these two things, if the offense for the Bears remains somewhat consistent, and the other thing is if the 49ers offense continues to struggle the way that they have pretty much most of the season compared to like what was expected. When it comes to the Bears right now, you're looking at DeAndre Swift. He is going to be questionable with a quad. DMP Wednesday limited. DMP Wednesday and Thursday, limited on Friday. So like he's at least trending in the right direction. Roshan's going to be out with a concussion. If you really want to get dicey and you really want to get cute, you might get a full bell cow Travis Homer game. I don't know how much I would necessarily want that against the matchup, but you can talk about that. He's probably going to be a little bit more of the trustworthy guy. I don't know how much they're necessarily going to be like Dontarion Evans going to be activating him and giving him the big boat, but with what went on with like Sincere McCormick in the Raiders, I don't know if you can necessarily trust any of this. You want to put your playoffs or your money games on the line, tracing after the Bears like third or fourth string running back to win you anything that's going to be going on out there. The other one to be looking at, and I don't think this is really going to put DJ Moore in a situation where he's not going to play, is DJ Moore is listed with a quad. I didn't see anything about like limiteds or missed practices, DMPs, or anything like that. Like the one thing that you might be able to guess on that you might get a slight upgrade to Keenan Allen or Rome or something like that, if you want to get like cute enough. And again, like the comments about like Rome, like I could definitely see him having a massive spike week. That's what the numbers are saying, that it's within his range of outcomes. I just don't necessarily know if you can guess it's going to be this week when it comes down to him. And then I got nothing for the 49ers that we already weren't tracking on. That's primarily going to be that Isaac Garriendo has like league winner written all over him. They did elevate Patrick Taylor. That's not to be expected or to be unexpected at this point. Like I don't know how much you're going to get like full bell cow Isaac Garriendo. I could also see that they're going to get to see what they have in their shiny new toy. If you won him in the waiver wire sweepstakes, I would definitely be rolling him out there and feeling pretty good about it in this one. All right, moving on to the Chargers and the Chiefs is one I was looking at, and I was trying to figure out like how I could project this game going. I don't think it's going to be a very good script one way or another, because neither team is necessarily designed to want to turn this into a shootout. You're looking at Kansas City by 4 points, 42.5. Most of these lines right now, like I would generally say nothing is really surprising. Probably the biggest surprise when it comes to the lines is going to be this Panthers and Eagles game, because the Panthers have looked better. So Vegas to say like they still think that the Eagles are going to blow them out, that kind of surprised me. That's probably the biggest one. So this line with the Chargers and the Chiefs, like that's not surprising to me. They're expected to be a lower scoring game in this one. The only two real pieces of information regarding this game, if you're going to be chasing some of these guys, is Ladd. No real news on whether or not he's going to play or not in this one. You're looking at questionable with a knee and a shoulder. It just said limited practice reps that I could find out there. What that means, you might get the opportunity to upgrade like your Josh Palmer. I'd probably be rolling out Josh Palmer if Ladd's out, more so than Quentin Johnson in this one. And even like Will Disley, there might be some guys I'd be rather wanting to predict in this game. I could definitely see that both these teams are just like, you know what, we're just going to make this as ugly as possible. We're just going to try and run on each other, shorten the game, and then turn this into like a one possession game late. They're both well coached teams. Neither of them are going to necessarily be stupid enough to hand the game over to the other team. That's primarily why the Chiefs have been winning this year, is just by allowing other teams to do stupid stuff. The only other thing that I would necessarily say about this game that may be fantasy related, if I bring this up right here, is Miko Hardman. Questionable with a knee. He had a DNP Friday. Now, why I would bring this up from a fantasy perspective is, the Chiefs are kind of notorious for running like these weird red zone packages. He comes in the game, he gets red zone packages or red zone touches. If he's not in the game because he's not playing, you can probably be looking at upgrading all your Chiefs toys because there's going to potentially be more red zone opportunities to go around. The biggest thing is like, you're probably looking at an uptick in Isaiah Pacheco. I don't know if I'd necessarily be rolling him out there outside of like desperation RB2 land, like expected that where you're going to get the complete usage flop when it comes to Kareem Hunt. Now, obviously, be paying attention to, active inactives. If Kareem Hunt is, inactive, then you could probably guess that you are going to get like closer to like full bell cow Isaiah Pacheco. I imagine that this split is going to stay at least somewhat split between Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt for at least like one more week from a fantasy perspective. After this week, you might be able to predict that like Isaiah Pacheco is going to get like that 70% work. Carson Steele is going to be completely inactive out of the office. That means like that 15% snaps that Carson Steele was running at with Kareem Hunt, Kareem Hunt's going to end up taking that over for Isaiah Pacheco, and then you can get back to having like 6 to 8 red zone opportunities with Isaiah Pacheco is going to make him close to a playoff league winner if he ends up being able to do that. All right, finally, last game going into week 14 in the fantasy playoffs. Bengals and Cowboys. You're looking at 5-point favorite for the Bengals, 49.5 points. Again, if you want to be guessing that you can get pieces of the Dallas Cowboys offense and that the Bengals are going to be that bad on defense because they've been that bad on defense, that's a very fantasy football way of getting in your playoffs. That's the easy way to put that when it comes down. There's your Bengals. When it comes to 6th worst defense when it comes to yards per game, they're also putting up 28.3 points a game. They're 2nd worst when it comes to scoring defense. So like that's why like if you want to be chasing your Dallas Cowboys shares, you can in this one. I got no news when it comes to the Bengals. I probably would be rolling Chase Brown out there like at this point, like everything that I can. Not named Yosivas or Gesicki, T. Higgins and Chase Brown. I'd be rolling out there. Joe Burrow wouldn't be overthinking any of that stuff. The main one would be the Cowboys if I could find them right now. I'm definitely rolling out Rico Dowdle, expecting that 70% snaps to remain consistent. And as bad as the defense is, there should be multiple red zone opportunities. I'm not going to overthink that one. CeeDee Lamb in this one. Questionable with his shoulder. He was full on Thursday before getting eliminated Friday. Remember, it's a Monday night game, so they're going to get one more practice session in tomorrow. Brandon Cooks has no injury designation with a knee. You can think about rolling him out there in that wide receiver 3 type of range. And then Jake Ferguson, he is questionable with a concussion. He did go full Friday, so the expectation that he's going to play in this one. So anyway, that's about all I got for the Grift this week, and we'll see how it goes and how my Sunday goes if I'm going to be back with the sausage this week. It is tough for me to get that out. But anyway, expect that I will be here for fantasy playoffs with After Waivers and Chasing the Dragon.